Welcome to Life on the Bubble. I'm Seth Greenberg, joined by national champion head coach Dan Hurley. Dan, before we get into the other stuff, I got a question for you. I know how important family is to you because I got emotional watching your son dribble the clock out. I mean, I kind of, in a way, just looked at it and said, like, that's the circle of life. Like, what was going through your mind watching him with this big smile on his face, dribbling that thing out?
Yeah, man, that was just a unbelievable moment. Uh, the life, this
Yeah.
life, your wife and your sons and your extended family. I mean, they take a big back seat, to recruiting, to you know, to the team, to everything that comes up over to you know to media, to donors, to everything that you've got going on, and so you miss a lot. So to be able to share, a moment at the pinnacle of your sport, with obviously your wife and oldest son right behind you, but then your youngest spiking the ball when you win the Natty, that was pretty that was pretty dope.
That
Just
was
goosebumps.
that was pretty cool. I remember we beat Illinois in the NCAA tournament. My daughters didn't realize that you weren't allowed to come on the court. They were little then, so that was the first round. They just came
Yeah.
running on the court like security's looking at them. Then boom, they're like, "Sorry, security, but you know what? We're
Yeah,
here."
yeah.
Then how about like one shining moment? We all watched it. I mean, we all watch it, each and every year, and uh, you're sitting there with your family, your team, your dad, who's the ultimate basketball lifer, your brother, who's obviously been through so much. Well, sharing that with him, what was that like?
Yeah, so that was weird because as soon as I saw it, I like got so excited because like I during the season when we play home games and I'm working out and when I'm on the treadmill, I play every version of that one shining moment that I've had a team play in the tournament. So I play it at the end of my workout to get me like a little bit more revved up on game day. Like I need that. Like like I need that, right? And I'll say my wife and me, back when I was coaching at St. Benedict's, I think our sole, we weren't thinking about, trying about the money of becoming a college coach and what that would present. I'm telling you, we used to watch the NCAA tournament when we were coaching at St. Benedict's, and we would wait for that one shining moment the night of the championship game, and we would just say to each other like we're going to coach in that tournament. Before it's all said and done. And that was like the only reason why I applied for that Wagner job.
It's unbelievable. Then I'll tell you, at practice on Sunday, I'm talking to your dad, and then I speak to your mom later on, and like you're winning a national championship, and your dad probably this week is back in the rec center running a program and been preparing to do Poker Invitational for 3 weeks. Like, how do you process that?
I process it like, I just try to do at the college level, like the modeled behavior that I saw from my dad, really. I mean, it's like try to run your college program the way he ran his high school program. And then what he modeled, Seth, because you know him so
Yeah.
well, is like, like he was always like watching games, whether it was NBA game or back then we had this big satellite dish. We didn't have much. We didn't have much of anything. He spent all his money on this like satellite dish that was like bigger than our house, so he could get college games. And then he would just always have his pad out, and he was always at clinics. He was always like watching, like coaching, clinic videos, trying to new drills. Like he always modeled like just always trying to get better as a coach, like learning, growing. So yeah, I mean, I'm the college version of what my dad would be, just worse, or a little
Yeah.
worse, or a lot worse, whatever.
Well,
I'm
but
not as
your dad,
good.
I tell you all the time, your dad's practice was the best practice I've ever seen. Hubie Brown, I don't care. I don't care who. But your dad had a fiefdom when it came to like If he had a problem with official, he probably wouldn't see that guy again.
Yeah, he had control.
he had, he had control. It took you a while to figure that one out, I think.
Yeah, I have no control over the assigner. Uh, and I listen. I learned, I learned the hard way. Obviously, during January, that stretch of games when we were struggling, it coincided with, with the public. I don't know if it's a meme or a GIF of me, mouthing something towards an official. And I think on both sides, it created a strain between me and the officiating crews because I said something that was embarrassing, embarrassing for them, embarrassing for me. But that whole experience, I think, in the end, I think it helped me, coach better, focus my attention better. February, March, April, we played into April, and then I'll apply it next season all the way, unless those guys are really bad on the game.
You're the best. Hey, you talk about Jersey City. I try to explain to people. They asked me to describe you on one of our game day shows, and I said genuine, authentic, and 100% Jersey City. And but like people just don't understand what that growing up there means to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first off, it's like I think it's literally the most diverse city in the country. Um, so I think number one, you're comfortable with everybody that you come across from any type of background. When you grow up in Jersey City, yeah, I mean, I was fortunate to get raised by great parents, and I'm surrounded by tremendous siblings. But you're also raised by the neighborhood. Um, you grow up outside in the parks and the courts,
Yeah.
jumping fences and like playing sports all day and getting in trouble, getting in trouble and getting into fights and learning what you should say, what you can get away with saying. It's just you're raised by a whole community of blue collar, hardworking, very diverse people that have a lot of pride in being from Jersey City and being from Jersey.
Yeah, no, 100%. So like when you started UConn, like you had a vision. Like those guys that you brought in here. What was the biggest selling point? Because you're not afraid to coach your guys hard. You're in it with them. You're not standing behind them. You're standing beside them. Uh, how hard is it? Like you're not afraid to coach your team. I go around all over the country. You and I talk about this all the time. I don't know why guys are afraid to coach your team, but some guys are. Like when you were selling this vision 5 years ago, what did you see? Like you said, all right, I got UConn. I know they've won championships. You had it because you had options. It wasn't just UConn. You had multiple options of people that wanted you to become their head coach at a high level in great leagues. But what was your vision when you were selling this stuff?
Yeah, and I could have stayed put because I loved Rhode Island. So right, I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't have to go anywhere. I just felt like it's always about like who do you feel like can you attract
Hmm.
with you? Like when I was deliberating on that job, it was what type of staff am I going to be able to put together? So prior to taking the job, you're on the phone with Kamani Young. Like,
Hmm.
if I take this job, because that's like the perfect job that if right in Kamani's wheelhouse, that he's absolutely gonna
Crush it.
crush it. Yeah, it. So I think you're thinking Tom Moore, who was with you at Rhode Island, who, is really gonna, bring that knowledge and wisdom of the place, and obviously, he brings, a lot of relationships from Connecticut, and like, can I get the type of, can I get NBA level players and the type of players that can help you win big, to to go to UConn? Can I get people excited to want to play there? Obviously, the AAC was a little scary. That's probably why I didn't just take the job like day one.
Right.
And and Dave Benedict and President Herbst, they didn't lie to me and say we're definitely going to be in the Big East. They were very clear we may not be changing conferences at all while you're here. So, for me, it was like, can I attract the type of people, staff and player wise, to come do this with me so that we could have a chance to win a national championship, have a chance to be like a top 10 program in the country year in and year out. And in the end, even with the AAC, I thought I could do it.
Yeah, and the ability to recruit your geographic footprint. I went
Oof,
through that after the game. And if you look at your roster, you are guys have you can go outside. UConn's a national brand, but if you can't recruit your geographic footprint, you have no
no.
chance.
And back
And
then,
you
Seth,
got
and
oh
back then, and
yep
back then, when you're coming off back-to-back losing seasons and you're in the AAC, yeah, there's no national recruiting. It's like,
yeah
yeah, that dissipated. Being really bad for 2 years is it's like it's an eternity. So you're 100% right. I mean, we knew that the brand still had that power, particularly New York, New Jersey, New England is where we initially knew we had to just try to get the best possible players we could with with Book and Book Knight and Jalen Gaffney and the Cook and R.J. Cole and Tyrese Martin, like guys that we knew
hmm
before we could now get into the DMV and and then go to Seattle like we did this year and Atlanta for Steph Castle.
yeah. So all right, you win a national championship. It is absolutely crazy, incredible. It's great. So so what's next? Because you win a championship. Look, let's face it, you got Jordan, you got Sonogo. Obviously, Andre played great. You've got a lot of static. I call it static surrounding surrounding your program. Like, what's the? You get back, you settle in. You obviously going to have celebrations. It's great, but people don't understand that's great. But now you've got to meet with your team. You've got to touch base with recruits. You've got to figure out the portal. Who's coming? Who's going? How hard is that?
It's it's uh it's a welcome challenge. It's a welcome challenge. Like we have a lot. We definitely have a lot going on right now. I think it hits you. Fortunately for me, it hit me like right away. Like go right to the team hotel. I was in like my first meeting about one of our guys and their draft status, which I was probably hoping to get to maybe Wednesday. Not 90 minutes after we won the thing. So, but I think it's in past years, I think Book got nicked. I think Book got nicked. Because we went out in the first round, probably got drafted a little bit lower than people thought. Tyrese Martin, we lost in the first round last year, and he had to go play his way from Portsmouth all the way through to get to the second round. And obviously, you go win a national championship. I think everyone's value goes up and opportunities are created, so you're thrilled for everybody. But I think for like the last 10 days, got a pretty good idea in terms of imagining the roster. Obviously, we've got some studs coming in, like the best recruiting class by far we've had coming in. We know that we're going to be bringing multiple high-level players that played a big role in this national championship coming back. And I think we're thinking about those couple of portal moves that we know we need to make, to keep it where we got it.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing because the guys you got from the portal, not perfect fits, but they fit roles. I mean, and like Joey California, all right, he knew exactly who he was. He bought into his role. And when you called his number, you kind of knew after the first 10 games, you kind of knew what you were going to get out of him. By the way, he's a better defender than we all thought. He
he
he,
played
he
more.
figured
He played more defense probably this year in practice than he probably tried. From
because he ended up a pretty good defender at the end of the season.
yeah.
I'm sitting there watching him go because I was at that first like kind of like that first practice, and I'm
Hmm.
going like, oh my God, who's this dude guarding?
Yeah, you're thinking like I'm going to have to play zone just to get his shooting on the court. But Yeah, but credit Joe. I mean, I just think I learned a lot after last year's the first round exit about just roster construction and personalities and being really honest in recruiting. You know, you're better off missing on like a delusional player. You know, like you're better off
Yeah.
missing on a delusional player by being like too honest about like their role. Maybe you get somebody with like a little bit less talent that understands the situation, and then if they understand the situation and want to be a part of UConn's pursuit for a fifth banner or a sixth one, now you're going to get somebody that's going to like add quality to your locker room and is going to excel in their role. And we had a bunch of guys excel in their role this year. Naheem
Right.
Aline, Joey. I mean, Naheem Aline to be a starter at Virginia Tech, and obviously him and Donovan were like kind of our sixth man. One
Hmm.
first guard off the bench, first front court player. Yeah, I mean, we didn't lie to Naheem and tell him that he was going to be our leading scorer and our best perimeter player. We presented him an opportunity to have a big role on a team that could compete for a national championship. He jumped on it and he helped us win it.
And he grew. He grew as the season went along because that's got
Yeah.
to be hard. That's got to be a hard. Like at first you're going, wait a second, maybe I can. And then all of a sudden you buy in the 15 minutes he plays or whatever he is. He did a great job in the semifinal game when he came in defensively.
Mm, he did.
I mean, he did a good job on Wong. I mean, and that's a new role. And then, I mean, even like bringing along, you don't have a pure point guard, but Tristan, he almost like eased his way in the championship game. Like early in the game, it looked like potential disaster. I mean, I'm sitting there and they're all jacked up San Diego State, and they're pushing you out about 20
Mm,
feet, and
hmm.
passing catching's hard. And then he kind of settled into it a little bit.
Yeah. I just think what I loved about him this year was, and I probably didn't see it until maybe later in the year, but, because everyone's got a different type of personality, and I think his was like, his in the end, even though it's like different than mine, you learn to appreciate like he was like very even keel, very like very calm and poised. And I don't know if his heart rate definitely doesn't get to where mine gets to. Um, but I did love to see people, him, getting like a little feisty and a little fiery about his play. Like
Yeah.
him getting like, getting pissed. I like taking it personal. I mean, this guy performed at an incredibly high level. I thought for us being thrown into a team that was, that'd be like a new quarterback that's been drafted to an organization that could win it, right? Like to have to come into that situation, fit your game around these other outstanding players, a couple triple doubles, and he gave us really, if we had a small point guard, like it would have, we wouldn't have been as imposing, like, but to have like Jordan at 6'5" plus, Andre approaching close to 6'7" maybe, and then Tristan being like a 6'4" plus. I mean, we were tall and long on the perimeter, and obviously he has that. He's got tremendous at least combo guard type of skills. But when we needed him to play make, he did it. When we needed him to step up and get us, what he got 19 in the championship game,
10 rebounds,
10 rebounds, 5 assists.
yeah, 5 assists, and got over people in both of those games, whether it was against Pack or against Trammell. He had a couple of drives where he kind of got in the lane, spun, used his size, and kind of just finished. And then he had that one going left where he
Mm.
came with his inside hand,
Oh,
which I remember I turned to Fonz. I said, that's a big time play.
yes, it
That's a
was.
big time play. So I mean, like growing into it. So you get back, you got to meet with your guys.
Mm.
I mean, the new world of college basketball, you got to meet with agents, workout
Hmm.
gurus.
Yeah.
I mean, like how many
No, no, I've cut off. No, yeah,
balance.
balance.
And by the way, the best video I've ever seen, and I don't do much looking on Instagram and stuff, but the video of your Wagner staff with you, Bobby, and Luke Murray.
You saw Luke laughing, right? I mean, you saw
Oh
Luke
my
kind of like
God.
laughing.
I mean,
So
that could have been that literally that was maybe the best video I've ever seen. Like, remember Brad and I coached together also
I know, I know,
at,
I know,
at Virginia Tech. And
I
people
know, I
just
know.
don't understand. Like my assistants at Virginia Tech, Brad and I would get in these just absolute cursing at each other arguments,
Yeah,
and the other guys in the staff would be looking at like going, like, what is wrong with these two guys? And I would turn to them, go, all right, we're gonna go. Let's get some pizza in here. We're fine. Let's go. And they'd look
yeah,
at us like we'd go from like here to like busting each other's chops to laughing. But that video was next level.
crazy. I mean, if you would have seen practices, um,
I saw a couple in Rhode Island, but I mean, they were
yeah,
mellow
yeah.
compared to.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we were, and Bob, I think the first year he was like, I think I probably got like three technicals, but he had more. He had four, I think, and that's never. I mean, how many times has an assistant coach ever gotten more technicals than a head coach? But never mind more, but just to get like three or four. I don't know. Either I had two and he had three, or I had three and he had four. But it went well beyond that because like if I didn't like a drill, Bob would get mad. If I didn't like, maybe let's say like somebody on staff was recruiting a player that I had as prospect one, at that position, and Bob's guy was two or three, he'd be seething, or I mean, this is how we were wired. Those games were wild, though. Tommy Lopes was the head of officials there, and I mean, there was like a tag. It was like the UFC combined with the WWE.
Oh
Just the
man.
energy that our bench brought. I remember too, and our team was kind of like we took over like a deadhead team, and I just remember just the. This is what we infused though with our teams though, because I remember playing Quinnipiac when Tom Moore was there, and Tyler Murray was like he averaged 17 a game for us that first year. A kid from Toronto. I think he averaged like four a game the year before. He was averaging 17 a game. And the way our team comes at you with the energy, he had a three right in front of Tom Moore's bench. And one of Tom Moore's and he got fouled and knocked back into the bench. One of Tom Moore's assistants was holding a cup of water, and he went up to him and flipped it, and the water spilled all over Scott Burrell, I think, and Tom. And but that's just the type of energy that our teams play with, because obviously the dark side is, it's tough on the officials, and then you get a lot of enemies along the way in terms of opposing fan bases, because a lot of these fan bases, they don't like our intensity, and they don't like the fact that we both win a lot too.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that and 100%. The other thing I talked about all tournament is like people watch you guys play. You are your habits. You guys play exactly the way you practice. There's like people don't understand the pace of your practices, and this goes back to my greatest peeve about coaches right now. The pace of your practice from what you do and from drill to drill, from closeouts to ball handling, however you frame that practice, the speed in which you go from drill to drill and keep the intensity while changing basically maybe a point of emphasis.
Hmm.
And that's exactly how you guys play. And
Yeah.
it's mind boggling that guys are afraid to coach their guys, because I tell guys all the time, if you don't coach them hard, right? If they don't want to be coached hard, they're not helping you win. And if they don't want to be coached hard and they're going to threaten to leave, they're not going to help you win.
That's right.
So you might as well, if you have real relationships with them, real relationships where you can straight talk them,
Hmm.
then you can coach them hard. Like
That's right.
the amount of time you spend with your guys, it's crazy,
Yeah,
right?
it is, and it's what great player that's like a winning player, like doesn't want somebody that's going to help him get even better, right? Like that's, I mean, that's all players want. I mean, players, they want somebody that's going to be able to take them, to a place with their game and their career that that they're not going to be able to get to by themselves. For me, I will not take a player unless they've seen us practice. I think that, because it is different. It's a different level of pace. It's a different level of competitiveness in June or July, never mind October or or February. So, I think it's, and my dad always taught me that it's like basketball is like coaching. It's like a quick command, right? It's all about like quick commands, and like the game is
Right.
playing out very quickly. And I just always hated as a player when I would get into practice and coaches would stop practice and go into these long dissertations on
Yeah.
different fundamentals and techniques that could be taught either a different part of practice quicker, or you make your point, you get out and you keep the rhythm and tempo. So my dad, quick commands, and then I think it's the other thing, and again, I bring almost everything back to my dad and PJ too. But like my dad made our practices so brutally hard and so intense and so fast paced that when you did get to the games, you felt like it was like not a break, because the games are intense too, but like, wow, things have actually slowed down a little bit,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or you just feel like your preparation was so high that you go into the games feeling like, yeah, this is nothing.
That was really cool talking to your dad sitting in practice. He was blown away by your guys' preparation. Your staff, in terms of your
Mm.
support system, those guys are great. Just from a guy that goes around now and watches and have been to your place, like you have your staff knows exactly who can play for you, and they know exactly what you need and what you want, like whether it's preparation or they understand you and appreciate your intensity as opposed to some staffs,
Yeah.
you can be more intense than your staff and they just can't understand it. They can't
Hmm.
understand. Like I had one assistant, Stacy Palmer, says, Coach, it's the biggest problem for guys that worked with you is that you were driven. If they weren't
Yeah.
as driven as you, they just couldn't understand you. Your guys understand you.
Yeah. It's just like the players, Seth. I mean, not every player could play for me. It's going to be too demanding. And then some coaches won't thrive with me because we're on 11 months a year.
Yeah.
Like every day that these kids are on campus with us, and I say 11 months because, they get 3 days off for Christmas. They get a week off in August, or 10 days off in August. You get these little pockets of
Yeah.
time where they are home. But if they are on campus, we're operating, we're functioning.
Yeah.
You're not on vacation. You're not, we're not getting on the road for recruiting to tournaments a day early. We're getting like one last workout in with the team at the absolute last second before we've got to head to Peach Jam to just get there in the nick of time, to see that
Right.
first game, because we're investing our time in our players, and I just I'm lucky. Kamani and Luke, they're again. I don't know a lot of ads because I have more of a high school background. I don't have a. My dad was a high school coach, so I'm not connected to all these athletic
Right.
directors and search firms and such. But these guys' phones should be ringing off the hook for like mid-major jobs and better. Kamani and Luke as head coaches, because they're two of the very best coaches.
Yeah.
And then Tom, obviously, was a very successful head coach, and you expect UConn staff have to win a national championship with everything they've done in recruiting and the coaching piece. These guys are, just like I've got like NBA draft picks. I got some of the best coaches in the country with me on staff.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. It has been, I'll tell you what, it's been fun to watch from 5 years ago to where you are
You
today.
saw it. You saw it
Uh,
all. You saw the first
I saw,
when you saw those first practices. It was scary.
yeah, but it's been fun, and I said this the other day. I mean, you guys aren't going anywhere because your approach is a championship caliber approach, and I know the standard is not going to be complacent. The standard, if anything else, just knowing you, uh, the bar is going to continue to be raised because you're not out there like schmoozing with boosters, spending 5 hours on a golf course. You got to do that now because NIL, and you got to do that
Yeah.
with the agents, and you got to do that
Hmm.
with,
Hmm.
the circle of influence of the players and make sure. But that's all that stuff's going to take place. But once they step in, they're in your world, and
Yeah.
and and that's why I said the other day, I said, you guys aren't going anywhere, and you're not going to change. Like sometimes I tell guys, like, don't change. You're not going to change because that's the essence of who you are, and that's how you've been raised to do it. And sitting with your dad on Sunday watching practice, that was one of the cooler things I've done in a while.
Uh,
I have to admit, just sitting and talking and watching practice and listening to him talk about just we have a lot of whether it's Tyshawn Taylor stories or your mom telling me, oh yeah, the rec center's open 3 days. But when your dad told me he was doing 3 weeks of Poker Invitational, I almost fell off my chair. And he said, yeah, I
He'll be
still do
running
the
early bird.
stations.
He'll be
Oh
running
yeah,
early bird workouts on the outdoor court at 7 to 7:50 before breakfast. No, there's no
I'll tell you what.
changing. Especially, listen, I don't know if we would have lost in the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. You your pursuit would be even greater. But the other pieces too, I think when you get a taste of just what it feels like to get to a Final Four and to win it, that also has an effect on increasing your pursuit and your ambitions and wanting to get back there and wanting to experience that feeling again. And
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think that's why I do it. I mean,
you love
I
to
just love,
coach.
I love to coach. I love to coach, and I love the opportunities that when you get a team and individuals to like become their best version of themselves, the value that it creates for those other people around me, and then also too, Seth, like the pride that people have in your program, like that feeling when you're at Rhode Island, where like your whole fan base and the whole like state loves your team,
Yeah,
and now like being at UConn and like people have fallen back in love with their UConn men's team again. They've always loved the
yeah,
women's team, and
yeah,
I got to tell you, I've seen Paige Beckers too. In I've seen her look on her face. I hope people are ready for what she's going to be doing next year on the women's side because she's starting to look healthy. Uh, so that's coming too next winter.
all right, man. Go. I'm not sure if you say go enjoy it or go to your next meeting or
Enjoy the
straighten
rest
those
of the day.
guys.
Meeting tomorrow, though. Meetings tomorrow. We needed Wednesday off.
All right. Well, take a deep breath, enjoy your family, and enjoy what you've accomplished. And by the way, you can be happy.